Welcome to the Campfire Curmudgeon Podcast. My name is Nicholas Jones.
And I'm Heidi Schilling, and with us we have our guest,
Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Hi.
What's up?
Not much.
We took a little bit of a hiatus. Sorry about that. Some of it was intentional, holidays and all that shit. Some of it was...
The arrow of time.
No. Some of it was the fact that I apparently don't know how to record shit, so it's fine.
Oh, I was just gonna...
It's fine.
I was just gonna walk right past it.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
No, I know my flaws.
Okay.
All right. What are we going to talk about today, Nick?
The ghost of Christmas past.
Your past?
Everybody's past.
Are there Christmas ghosts in your past?
Sure.
Sure. We're going to talk about the old tradition of telling ghost stories on Christmas.
Ooh.
Love that.
Right? Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah, so gather around a fireplace if you're not in the Phoenix area.
Gather around your indoor campfire.
Yeah.
It is cold in the Phoenix area.
But there's
Gather around
also
a fireplace.
There's
still.
also a
oh,
no-burn
that's
day.
true.
Yes.
Gather around a
Is it
gas
still a no-burn day?
fireplace.
Yes.
So even though this is supposed to be our Christmas episode, we're a little late. Sorry about
It's a
that.
holidays episode.
It's our holidays episode.
Happy
but you know how it is.
holidays.
You know how it is. Family, food, presents, going broke. All the ways we celebrate.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever heard of that tradition, though, of telling ghost stories?
Ghost stories, specifically.
For Christmas,
no.
yeah.
No, yeah. But it sounds like fun, and I want to know why they stopped it, because I would love to tell ghost stories on Christmas.
Yeah, it adds a little bit of extra flair, like the ghost story, or the story that the McAllister kids tell about the neighbor with the snow shovel.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
He kills the kids and soaks them in salt, and then he uses it to salt the driveway.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, that's interesting. That
Yeah.
might come into play later.
Yeah.
Well, read what the SmithsonianMagazine.com has to say about ghost stories and Christmas. Ebenezer Scrooge wasn't the first fictional character to see ghosts around Christmas time. The tradition of holiday ghost stories goes much, much further back, further perhaps than Christmas itself. When the night grows long and the year is growing to a close, it's only natural that people feel an instinct to gather together at the edge of the year. It also makes sense to think about people and places that are no longer with us. Thus, the Christmas ghost story, its origins, have little to do with the kind of commercial Christmas we've celebrated since the Victorian age. They're about darker, older, more fundamental things. Winter, death, rebirth, and the rapt connection between a teller and his or her audience. But they're packaged in the cozy trappings of the holiday. Christmas, as celebrated in Europe and the US, was originally connected to the pagan winter solstice celebration and the festival known as Yule. The darkest day of the year was seen by many as a time when the dead would have particularly good access to the living. So, I mean, we know that a lot of Christmas traditions are pagan traditions, Yule traditions.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that this is another kind of one of those traditions that would have hung on for a while there.
Yeah.
Saturnalia, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, Ebenezer Scrooge, seeing ghosts, it's kind of, I
Jacob
mean, I
Marley,
think,
Rattles and Chains.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people know of, A Christmas Carol and know of that as being kind of like a ghost story,
Yeah.
a good part of it is about ghosts.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too unusual
No.
around Christmas time.
A Christmas
I just
story
think
is
when most people,
great.
if you said, hey, do you have any Christmas ghost stories? They'd be like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently there's quite a few of these stories that have kind of been around for a while that are traditional, like, Christmas ghost stories that I wanted to talk about. Are my glasses over there? I am struggling to see.
No, they are not.
Hand me my bag. Did you see me squinting? You were looking at me. I was like,
Edit point. We've hit another edit point.
okay. People like this shit. It's
Find the
fine.
glasses. She's not blind.
It's actually just, they're not even in here. I'll just make the shit bigger. There we go.
Make the shit bigger.
You seem good at that. Don't encourage it.
Don't tell me not to laugh at sophomore jokes. I always.
God, I know.
It's my
All right.
sense of humor.
So some of those ghost stories are, here's one called Between the Lights, and it's by E.F. Benson.
Okay.
This tale is set on Christmas Eve and looks back on the 1 year before when our host has a vision of primal, shack-entombed beasts advancing upon him as he sat out on the lawn and watched his wife and a good friend play croquet. The creatures advance, paralysis has set in, And it is by a Christmas mercy that the hold is relinquished. Daytime haunts can seem even less natural than the midnight variety, and this one proves portentous when the vision is actualized after a
Portentous?
fashion. Portentous?
Portentous?
After a fashion, before all collectively shudder and call for more mulled cider, the tale complete.
Mulled cider?
Yeah, you know what that is, right?
No.
You remember the
It's-
cider I handed you with mulling spices that you
Oh, yes,
lost?
yes.
Yeah.
That would be mulled cider. You didn't know because you
Isn't
went,
that like-
what is this packet? And
Doesn't
threw
that
it. And I
originate
was
from
like,
Russia?
you need that to make... Okay.
Why do I get you anything?
Oh.
Okay. So I thought you said mulled. I heard M-O-L-D.
Mulled.
Yes, mulled, like mulled wine.
Yeah.
Yes, gotcha. Anyway, Nick the Dum Dum is
It's a
caught up.
Christmas
We can-
miracle.
we can move
He
forward.
understands us.
Ooh.
But obviously I'm reading these are descriptions of what these stories are about because most of them are quite long actually.
To see shadow creatures like surrounding your family as they play like
This seems
croquet,
so
absolutely
weird.
it
terrifying.
sounds like daytime night terrors or something, right?
Honestly,
yeah.
this sounds
Where you have,
so
like,
weird.
sleep paralysis and then you see shadow creatures.
Sleep paralysis is creepy,
Well,
man.
and it's even just so weird. And all of these can be found on the parisreview.org. If you go there, you can see. This one doesn't have links, but there's some other. I think Bustle even did some of these where you can link to the full story. So if you feel
Yeah.
like keeping the holiday spirit going and telling some ghost stories, you can find these full ones. And if you do check any of these out, if you like read them with your family or anything, let us know which one you liked best.
Reading
Okay.
and family.
And this
like
one's
reading.
called The Kit Bag, and this is by Algernon Blackwood.
I love
And
that
this
name.
was written
I'm so
right.
sorry.
It was written in 1908, back when people had badass names.
That
I
is
guess
the fucking coolest name.
it needs like a title in front of it, like Duke or something, right?
Sorry, that'd be the coolest name ever. Okay.
You're gonna name a pet that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You'll have to become a real big fan and be like, after the author.
Yeah, exactly.
Who names their pets after authors? That's silly. Dante, knock it off.
I was like,
Joke! We joke! Well, this one, the kit bag, we've all been in the position of racing off for the Christmas holiday, fretting that we've forgotten to pack something. In this story, a law clerk whose boss just cleared a murderer is packing what he believes to be the travel bag said employer has lent him. But the holidays can be misleading, and one man's to-me luggage can be another's sack to lug around a severed head in. Again, there's that notion of warmth, of looking forward to things. Our man wishes to chat up the ladies back in the lodge on his ski holiday. You want this guy to be okay. Alas, he's ripped open from stem to stern and bleeds out as the clock chimes on Christmas. Only kidding, dear reader. A very good thing about a great Christmas ghost story is that you will be frightened, but the new people you have come to care about tend to live to see another Christmas.
oh, okay.
And push sugar on you. Hey,
Yeah.
you can't leave without some of these.
Yeah,
You gotta have Christmas sugar. How else are you gonna stay awake?
that's true.
Yes.
But so this kind of is giving us an idea of how these stories tend to go is
it's a
yeah.
template. Yeah.
family or there's holidays and something scary happens, but usually your main character of the story is gonna make it
It's
okay.
like a Doctor Who special.
Yeah.
Just like that?
Yes, exactly like
Right.
a Doctor Who special.
Do you watch Doctor Who specials?
Some of them.
I was like, are there Doctor Who fans out there going, what? Who? Don't give me dirty looks. I'm funny. That's why we have a successful podcast.
We're funny. Yes.
A strange Christmas game. And I love, too, how many of these, they don't use their full name. This one is by J.H. Riddle.
J.H. Riddle
That's
Yes.
like, I mean, that's like Tolkien, though. He doesn't.
Just like Tolkien.
or J.K.
But,
yeah, or J.K. Rowling.
but that used to be very common, I feel
E.B.
like.
White.
A lot of authors used to
A.A.
just
Milne.
use
Yeah.
initials.
Mhm.
I mean, I would.
Well-
Keeps it mysterious. Be like, who are they?
Yeah.
A strange Christmas game. Even spook story enthusiasts tend to not to know that a goodly amount of Victorian ghost fiction was written by women. Maybe the majority of it. Mrs. J. H. Riddle was one of the best ghost story writers of her time, period. And in A Strange Christmas Game, we have that idea of play again. Only now it is the ghosts who are trying their hands at sport. Cards, as it were. A brother and sister have recently taken possession of a house willed to them, and the demise of their benefactor plays out like some horrible woebegone mummers act.
I'm sorry.
What does that even mean?
They've been willed a house.
That's correct.
That I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got that too. And
Where'd you get lost?
Something about mummers?
I don't know what that means.
M-U-M-M-E-R-S. Act.
Mummers?
Mummers Act. I mean, I can Google it for
I
you.
was like, I don't know what that means,
Again, I
honestly.
told you, you gotta, if you don't like it, blame the Paris Review.
Well, no,
I didn't write this.
It's Victorian era, so I gotta know what a mummer is.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Or we could just use context clues.
Mummers plays are folk plays performed by troupes of amateur actors, traditionally all male.
Aw.
There you go.
Okay.
I should know that. I don't. I don't remember college. Sorry. Too much Dane Bramage. That's another loud plane. He's coming for us. That plane's just been circling.
Yeah.
We could hear that plane when we were doing our
Look out,
sound
Cary-
check.
Look out, Cary Grant.
Here it comes again. So you all get to enjoy that.
North by Northwest.
I wonder if it's going to be really funny if I go to edit this and you can't actually hear the plane in it, and we're just
Yeah.
like, do you hear the plane?
Oh my god.
Do you hear it?
Like we just
We
edit
all just
all the
sound
lower
crazy.
register out of the show. Like,
Make sure people
What
hear
plane?
the plane.
welcome to the Paranoid Podcast.
Paranoid curmudgeon. It's only sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Only sometimes.
oof.
What?
I was thinking about actually when you were paranoid about a plane, and I got 2 texts, a video, a phone call, because there was a loud plane, and I was like,
Heidi showed me those.
we're going to have a new podcast called The Paranoid Curmudgeon.
I'd listen.
The Paranoid Curmudgeon is afraid of planes.
I'm afraid of deviation.
This plane sounds different than the other planes.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
It's a conspiracy.
what's changed? What's different? Last night,
It's a conspiracy.
I got a little paranoid, but guess what? My internet actually did get attacked.
So you think?
Yes.
You think so? I don't know.
It could be.
I
You
don't
never
know.
know. You never know.
I showed. I texted you like this happened, then this happened.
I
then
know, and
this
I said,
happened.
shrug.
Yeah.
Maybe. Same thing I'm going to say now. Shrug. Maybe. I will
See,
have to look
their-
into
Their
it.
curmudgeon can't get anybody else to believe him.
I believe you, Nick.
Thank you.
I believe
I
a
want
lot of
to
things,
believe.
Though, so.
You what?
Oh
That's
my
so
god.
You gotta give me props for that one.
I'm
Yes.
gonna give you props for that.
That was
was
good.
good.
Yes, we just high-fived. All the things that are good for a podcast. Christmas Reunion by Sir Andrew Caldecott. We'll say that's how you say it. This one is 1912.
Okay.
It comes from a volume called Not Exactly Ghosts, an apt summation of Caldecott's approach. The things in his story could kind of happen on their own. Again, we begin at a family holiday party, but there's a guest who's a prick. Everyone is pleased when he leaves, and wouldn't you know it, he heads out at the same time as Santa Claus. Or rather, the Santa the family thinks it hired to put on an act for the kiddies.
Oh no.
The prickish guest, we learn, did his uncle a bad turn once upon a time, and this Father Christmas knows about it. Worse still, he's an avenging Father Christmas. Santa is the ghost in this story. Maybe, or maybe not, because Santa could just be pissed off kin.
An avenging angel.
You get to riddle it out for yourself.
That actually sounds like the most interesting one, and I really want to actually
Right, this
read
one is
that.
called Christmas Reunion by Sir Andrew Caldecott. So if that interests you. So the whole mystery of that one is whether or not Santa is some sort of actual supernatural entity or somebody's angry uncle.
That's really cool, though. That's very mysterious. I love that.
The last one on my list is Smee by A.M. Barrage, 1931.
Okay, one that's less than 100 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
At this party, we're playing a form of hide and seek in which the seeker advances upon the hider and says, "It's me." Hello?
Smee.
It's me.
Heidi.
She hates that song.
I really do.
She hates it so
I'm
much.
in California dreaming about how things used to be.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't like Adele.
She's got her hands on her face, like
Oh.
full. Come on, sing it, sing it. Yeah, I'm getting like.
That's never happening.
All right,
A ghost singing "Hello from the other side."
it's me.
That'd be a really good
I must
parody.
have haunted 1,000 times.
That'd be a really good parody.
If a
Nick.
ghost sounded like that, I'd be like, you need to just stay gone.
I have things left to do.
It's me, which uttered quickly and breathlessly enough becomes Smee,
Smee.
Smee.
I don't.
It's Christmas Eve. This is a big old rambling house, but one tiny problem. There's an extra player who does not number among the guests. A sort of moral. Downing the nog and playing hide and seek can make you want to pull a Scrooge. Reading this story, like drinking too much nog, would be enough to have you cancel Christmas next year. If only it wasn't so much fun to get messed up on this stuff.
He must have been a
Nog.
He must,
Every time I said nog, you're like,
Because
nog.
I'm just like, shut up.
he must have
Just
been
like
a
downing the nog.
Downing the nog.
I just love that phrase. It made me laugh so hard. I don't know why.
So is that what you're going to tell your friends? BRB, I gotta go down the nog.
Yeah.
It's me. I gotta down some nog. I'll be right there.
God.
Every time he says,
Who invited the obnoxious subject
Smee.
matter expert?
right?
Smee.
Every time he said Smee, I can
Smee.
only hear it in Captain Hook's
Yeah.
voice.
Smee.
Yeah. Smee.
Hook, give us the hook.
Well, there was one story that you were gonna read us.
Yeah.
One of these Christmas stories. We're gonna have her read a full one.
Totally.
Probably one of the shortest ones we found.
One of the shortest ones we found. Okay.
She says
What's the title of this one?
So this is Christmas Ghost Stories, Dark Christmas by Jeanette Winterson. And this is on theguardian.com.
Dark Christmas.
Dark Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah, punch it up.
Punch it
I'm
up.
so sorry. Okay. So, this is the story. We had borrowed the house. Shut up. This is the story.
That was me,
So
sorry.
here's the story of a Christmas ghost.
We had borrowed the house from a friend none of us seemed to know. High Fallen House stood on an eminence overlooking the sea. It was a square Victorian gentleman's residence. The large bay windows looked down through the pines towards the shore. Oh my god, my lisp. 6
Oh.
stone steps led the visitor up to the double front door, where the Gothic bell pull released a loud mournful clang deep into the distances of the house. Laurel lined the drive at the stable block of
Oh no, why are you laughing now? Is it the name Laurel?
No.
Okay, I was like, I don't
Okay.
understand.
Hey, I'm your neighbor. Might I borrow a cup of sugar in your Victorian beach house?
I mean,
No. Okay.
Sorry.
big
No,
sun
it's okay.
hat, nice pair of glasses.
Yeah.
I'll borrow that Victorian beach
You would
house
love that, though.
anytime, right?
Okay. Laurel lined the drive. The stable block was disused. The walled garden had been locked up in 1914 when the gardeners went to war. Only one had returned. I had been warned that the high brick wall enclosing the garden was unsafe. As I passed it, slowly in the car, I saw a faded notice falling off the print-peeled door. Do not enter.
Oh, I would enter that in a heartbeat. You cannot
Of
keep me
course
out of
you
a
would.
sealed-up garden in a Victorian beach house. Just try.
Welcome to Terrible Ideas 101, brought to you by Heidi Shelley.
Welcome to How I'm Going to Die.
Pretty much.
This is every episode of Curmudgeon.
Yeah.
To be sure.
Of what? Me making bad life decisions?
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
still
just-
alive. I'm
Kind
still
of.
alive. It's fine.
You do make a lot of questionable decisions.
And look at me now.
Thriving.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Take some risks.
Hallmark.
I was the first to arrive. My friends were following by train, and I was to collect them.
They're not your friends if they're like, we'll be right behind you.
Yeah,
on a
following by
train.
They're like,
And-
we'll come later. Just you go make sure there's no ghosts
Just
first.
sweep out the
Me
Check out
making
the
you go
garden.
into anywhere.
Get the
Yes.
sand out of everything.
100%. I feel like this is, yes.
Yeah, this is me.
Go into the
Forcing
hotel
Heidi.
room first. Go into check everything. Nothing? Okay, I'll come in.
Yeah, pretty much. My friends were following by train, and I was to collect them the next day, and then we would settle down to Christmas. I had driven from Bristol, and I was tired. There was a Christmas tree roped on the top of my 4x4 and a trunk load of provisions. We were not near any town, but the housekeeper had left had left stacked wood to build a fire, and I had brought a shepherd's pie and a bottle of Rioja for my first night. I think that's how you pronounce that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
We
love
both
shepherd's
look
pie.
and go. Both of us look and then shrug. Yeah, sounds right.
1930, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, but shepherd's pie. Ooh, I love shepherd's pie. Okay. The kitchen was cheerful enough once I had got the fire going and the radio playing while I unpacked our festive supplies. I checked my phone. No signal. Still, I knew the time of the train tomorrow, and it was a relief to feel that the world had gone away. I put my food in the oven to heat up, poured a glass of wine, and went upstairs to find myself a bedroom. The first landing had 3 bedrooms leading off it. Each had a moth-eaten rug. Oh, okay.
She doesn't like moths.
Or, yeah, butterflies.
Ugh,
Yeah.
no, that's just so creepy thinking about that. Okay. Each had a moth-eaten rug, a metal bed, and a mahogany chest of drawers. At the far end of the landing was a second set of stairs up to the attic floor. I am not romantic about maids' rooms or nurseries. And there was...
Hold up. I am not romantic
Yeah, what is that?
about maids' rooms and nurseries. Okay.
What's gonna happen
I'm not
next?
romantic about bathrooms and kitchens, I guess. I don't... Let's name a room.
Let the story breathe.
It doesn't want to. It's smothered.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So tell us the next thing that happens that doesn't have anything to do with a maid's room or a nursery.
Yeah. And there was something about the second set of stairs that made me hesitate. The landing was bright in the sudden way of late sun on a winter's afternoon. Yet the light ended abruptly at the foot of the stairs as though it couldn't go any farther.
I can't.
Honestly, like the light's just
That was
like
me being the
I have
light.
to stop.
I think we got that. Thank you, Nicholas.
I loved your light impression. Okay.
I'm a particle and a
You had
wave.
teachers that were like, you can sit down now a lot, huh? Did you hear that often?
I did that, and it was music classes later. 'Cause
Oh,
I'd be
no.
like, yeah, just
That's
gonna
good
be
for the
so
ears.
loud.
We're both like, all right, good.
I didn't want to be near that set of stairs, so I chose the room at the front of the house. Ooh, girl.
Never choose the room at the front of the house.
Yeah,
Never choose the room
also-
at the back of the house.
But
Middle.
if you don't want to be near the stairs, girl,
Why?
I wouldn't. If the stairs are giving you a bad vibe, you get away from those stairs.
All right.
True.
Unless you're Heidi, and then you go to the stairs.
Then you go to them. Go to the bad vibe, investigate it, find out what's going on.
get thee to a nunnery
And then sage
or the
it.
staircase. Like, yeah.
This is me trying to type real quiet because my computer just... All right, there you go.
Okay.
Are we still recording?
Looks to be.
Looks to
It
be.
is, yeah.
Looks to be.
As I went to bring up my bag, the house bell started to ring, its jerky metallic hammer sounding somewhere in the guts of the house.
I like that.
Sorry, it was like
Jerky
the page just
metallic
jumped.
hammer.
But that gives you like it's like
Yeah.
a good
That makes
imagery.
it sound like, yeah, it's like a crusty bell.
Yeah, it gives really good imagery though. I like
Yeah.
the way it was phrased. Okay. I was surprised but not alarmed. I expected the housekeeper. I opened the door. There was no one there. I went down the steps and looked around. I admit I was frightened. Yeah, right? That's the door opening. I like
no,
that.
that was just me going like,
Oh.
That's his scared noise.
I love that. The night was clear and soundless. There was no car in the distance, no footsteps walking away. Determined to conquer my fear, I walked around a little. Then, turning back to the house, I saw it. The bell wire ran along the side of the house under a sheltering gutter. Perhaps 30 or 40 bats were dangling upside down on the vibrating wire.
Oh,
The
that's
same
kinda
number
cool.
swooped and swerved in a dark mass. Obviously, their movement on the wire had set off the bell. I like bats. Clever bats. Good. Now supper.
I like this person.
I do too.
yeah, they're very Hemingway. It's just like, all right, it was a thing. No details.
Good
Moving
bats.
on.
Moving
Like,
on.
I kind of love that though, like that
I
transition.
wanted a
I like
bat
bats.
so
Good bats.
bad for a pet when I was a kid. Mom and Dad were like, no.
They,
One of those cute
Carry
little fruit
rabies.
bats.
but they're so cute.
Domesticated animals carry
Yeah.
rabies too.
That's true. I do love bats. Okay. I ate, I drank. I wondered why love is so hard and life is so short. Me too. Okay.
Right? That's a real mood right there.
Honestly, the biggest mood. Okay.
it's a box wine mood.
I love that. Okay. I went to bed. The room was warmer now, and I was ready to sleep. The sound of the sea ebbed into the flow of my dreams. That's really good imagery too. I like this story. Okay. I woke from a dead sleep in dead darkness to hear what?
You know what my favorite part of an audiobook is? When
What?
when the person reading it like stops and is like, that was awesome. And
Yeah.
then resume.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're sarcastic or not.
I
No, he's being serious.
yeah.
I don't want that in my audiobooks. I want you to continue reading. I have a pause button. I can have my own "that was awesome" moment.
Yeah, that's
Don't
true.
tell me when to have a "that is awesome" moment. How dare you? How very dare.
I woke from a dead sleep in dead darkness to hear what? What can I hear? It sounded like a ball bearing, sorry, or a marble rolling on the bare floor above my head.
Oh, that's a creepy sound.
Yeah.
That sounds
Especially if you've
absolutely
ever
repulsive.
had an upstairs neighbors in an apartment. It's like,
Nope.
what are you doing?
I'm always
up
on
there?
top. So when
Yeah.
we fall, I'm the crusher, not the crushy.
It rolled hard on hard, then hit the wall. Then it rolled again in the other direction. This might not have mattered, except that the other direction was upwards.
So you
Pardon me,
hear a
sorry.
marble rolling upwards. That's a
Wow.
fun sound when you think you're alone in a house.
Yeah, things can come loose and roll downwards, but they cannot come loose and roll up. Unless someone... That thought was so unwelcome that I dismissed it along with the law of gravity. Whenever I was rolling over my... I'm so sorry, this page keeps jumping. Whatever was rolling over my head must be a natural dislodging. The house was draughty,
Drafty?
Draughty.
and unused. The attics were under the eaves where any kind of weather might get in. Weather or an animal. Remember the bats. I pulled the covers up to my...
Remember the bats as he burritos up into his
Right?
That's
Wait.
playing marbles. It's fine.
I pulled the covers up to my eyebrows.
Yeah.
There you go.
And pretended not to listen. I love that eyebrows specifically. Not like up to the nose where like people
Nope.
do in the movies when they're scared,
Nope.
to their eyebrows.
Where you can pull it down quick and like take a quick little peek, but then you can pull them right back up.
Now I leave you
They
down
do
to
it.
But that's
sleep.
even
Haunt
scarier
you,
because if
haunt
you
you,
think
haunt
something's in your room, why would you close your eyes? Okay, if you think something's in the house though, I don't want to close my eyes and then open them to something standing in my room. Like I would freak out. I just don't close my eyes.
Yeah.
I'd rather see something
be an
walk
opportunity.
in
Stare
than
at
something just appear. Oh, don't like that. Okay.
Ghost walks into her room, sees just, oh my god, runs out, and I walked in her room, and there she was, a living human just staring at me, unblinking. I was terrified. I banished myself out of that house so fast.
Probably any ghost that's ever actually walked into our house. Okay, there it was again. Hard, on hit, on pause, on roll. That was a very confusing sentence, I'm sorry. I waited for sleep, waiting for daylight. We are lucky, even the worst of us, because daylight comes. It was a brooding day on that 21st of December, the shortest day of the year. Coffee, coat on, car keys. Shouldn't I just check the attic? The second set of stairs was narrow, a servant's staircase. It led to a lath and plaster corridor. Yeah.
Lathe?
I think, yeah, lathe and plaster corridor, barely a shoulder width wide. I started coughing. Breathing was difficult. Damp had dropped the plaster in thick, crumbling heaps on the floorboards.
Too skinny. Like this room is too skinny.
Right? As below, there were 3 doors. 2 were closed. The door to the room above my room, was ajar. I made myself go forward.
How is the door ajar? How can a door be ajar?
Oh,
Such a
my
funny joke.
God,
Continue,
Nicholas.
Clay.
Sorry.
Continue.
The room was under the eaves, as I had guessed. The floor was rough. There was no bed, only a wash stand and a clothes rail. What surprised me was the nativity scene in the corner.
Oof.
Standing about 2 feet tall, it was more like a dollhouse than a Christmas
Oh,
decoration.
that's creepy right
That's
there.
Awful. Okay.
Yes.
Inside the open-fronted stable stood the animals, the shepherds, the crib, Joseph. Above the roof, on a bit of wire, was a battered star. It was old, handmade in a workmanlike but not craftsmanlike sort of way. The painted wood now rubbed and faded like pigments of time. I thought I would carry it downstairs and put it by our Christmas tree. It must have been made for the children
No,
when there were
leave
children
the
here.
haunted nativity. The
Girl, okay. Bad decisions. Okay. I stuffed my pockets with the figures and animals and left quickly, leaving the door open. I had to set off for the station. Stephen and Susie could help me with the rest later.
Hey, why are you late picking us up? Oh, I found this haunted nativity scene. Oh,
Also,
and
I'm
marbles
confused.
that roll upwards.
I'm confused as to how she stuffed them in her pockets when she said it was about 2 feet tall, but okay.
probably the figures and not
The
the
figures were
and
little,
she's-
I'm
Oh,
assuming.
yeah, okay. Okay.
You're like, girl, you got some pockets.
I know, I'm like, where are you buying pants? Because I need to shop there. As soon as I was out of my house, my lungs felt clear again. It must be the plaster dust. The drive
Must be.
Yeah, must be. The drive to
That'll
the
do it.
station was along the coast road. Lonely and unyielding, the road turned in a series of blind bends and tight corners. I met no one and saw no one. Gulls circled over the sea. I hate seagulls. The station itself was a simple shelter on a long, single track. There were no information boards. I checked my phone. No signal. At last the train appeared distantly down the track. I was excited. Memories of visiting my father as a child when he was stationed at his RAF base gave me a rush of pleasure whenever I travel by train or come to meet one. The train slowed and halted. The guard stood down for a moment. I watched the doors. It wasn't a big train, this branch-line train, but none of the doors opened. I waved at the guard, who came over. I am meeting my friends. He shook his head. Train's empty. Next stop is the end of the line. I was confused. Had they got off at the earlier stop? I described them. The guard shook his head. I noticed strangers. They would have boarded at Carlisle, asked me where to get off. Always do. Is there another train before tomorrow? One a day, and that's your lot. And more than anybody else needs in a place like this. Where are you staying? High Fallen House. Do you know it? Oh, aye. We all know it. He looked as if he were about to say something else. Instead, he blew his whistle. The empty train pulled away, leaving me staring down the long track, watching the red light like a warning. I need to get a signal on my phone. I drove on past the station, following the steep hill, hoping some height would connect me to the rest of the world. At the top of the hill, I stopped the car and got out, pulling up the collar of my coat. The first snow hit my face with insect insistence.
Like bugs on your
Yeah.
face. I could see you were just like, no.
Sharp and
No.
spiteful, like little bites. Ugh. Okay. I looked out across the whitening bay. This must be the High Fallen House. That must be the High Fallen House. But what's that? Two figures walking on the beach. Is it Stephen and Susie? Had they driven here after all? Then, as I strained my eyes against the deceit of distance, I realized that the second figure was much smaller than the first. They were walking purposefully towards the house.
Is this the Footsteps poem?
Oh no. I know which one you're talking about.
Oh my god.
Our mom has that.
Yeah, somebody gave it to her.
Yeah. When I arrived back, it was nearly dark. I put on the lights, blew the fire into a blaze. There was no sign of the mysterious couple I had seen from the hill.
This guy has like some lung capacity. He blew the fire into a blaze.
Right?
All right, it's going now.
That's what you do with
Yeah.
fires.
Well, yes.
Perhaps
Don't you campfire curmudgeon?
No, not in a while.
I don't camp. Perhaps it had been the housekeeper and her daughter come to make sure that everything was all right. I had a telephone number for Mrs. Wormwood. Oh, I love that last name. That's fun. But without a signal, I could not call her. The snow was thickening and windy swirls. Relax. Have a whiskey.
There you go.
I leaned on the warm kitchen range with my whiskey in my hand. The wooden figures I had brought down from the attic were lying on the kitchen table. I should go up and get the stable. I don't want to.
Then don't.
I bound it up.
girl, don't go up
Right?
there. Like,
Right? I bounded up the first set of stairs, using energy to force out unease. At my bedroom,
just run at the ghosts.
right, I put on the light. That felt better. The second set of stairs stood in shadow at the end of the long landing. I felt that constriction in my lungs again.
Join us. It's me.
Stop. Why am I holding on to the handrail like an old man? I could see that the only light to the attic was at the top of the stairs. I found the round brown bakelite switch.
Type of plastic.
Yeah.
This is gonna make me laugh, and it's so stupid.
Do it.
Roar!
Oh my god.
It's so stupid, it's not even funny.
I found the round brown bakelite switch. I flicked down the nipple.
It's not funny 'cause I know
Continue,
what
child.
they're talking about. I'm just so immature. It's
She's
fun.
so red, too.
Yeah.
A single bulb lit up reluctantly.
Gather a hold of yourself.
Shut up. It's funny. I'm sorry. The room was straight ahead. The door was closed.
How can a door be ajar? Why is nipple funny? I'm a curmudgeon.
You're working with actual
I'm getting an eyebrow,
children.
like an eyebrow raise.
The door was closed. Hadn't I left it open? I turned the handle and stood in the doorway, the room dimly lit by the light from the stairs. Washstand, nativity, clothes rail. On the clothes rail was a child's dress. I hadn't noticed that before.
Run!
No.
Run!
Literally, girl, that's like get out of the actual house. Okay. I suppose I had been in a hurry.
Right, that's all that.
Yeah.
You see a child's dress, you go.
Get out.
Taffy was a Welshman. Like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. I suppose I had been in a hurry. Pushing aside my misgivings, I went in purposefully and bent down to pick up the wooden nativity.
Nativity.
I knew you were going to say that too.
Nativity.
Shut up. Okay.
Does it have nipples? Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, no.
Read
Okay.
the story.
It was heavy, and wait, what? My brain just went,
Like,
nope.
it was heavy?
It was heavy, and I had just got it secure in my arms when the light on the landing went out. Oh.
Damn nipple.
The
Salty
fucking
nipples.
light nipple. Oh, watch out, man. Hello? Who's there? There's someone breathing like they can barely breathe. Not faint, struggling for breath.
No, it's me.
Was Nick in the room?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Hey, I've been in treatment.
Oh, you
Nick.
sound much
I
better.
do.
I mustn't turn round, because whoever, or whatever it is behind me.
Just don't look at him, they'll go away. It's fine.
Yeah, just pretend like they're not there. I stood still for a minute, steadying my nerve. Then I shuffled towards the edge of the light coming up from downstairs. At the doorway, I heard a step behind me, lost my balance, and put out a hand to steady myself. My hand gripped... What? Okay, sorry. My hand gripped something wet, the clothes rail. It must be the dress. My heart was overbeating. Don't panic. Bakelite. Bad writing. Strange house. Darkness. Aloneness. Oh, I love, like, the little tiny... the periods that separate all those words. That's so effective. Okay. I love reading. Okay. But you're not alone, are you? Back in the kitchen with whiskey, Radio 4, and pasta boiling, I examined the dress. It was for a small child, and it was hand-knitted. The wool was smelly and sopping.
Oh,
I washed
no.
it out and left it hanging over the sink to drip. I guessed there must be a hole in the roof, and the dress had been soaking up the rain for a long time. I ate my supper, tried to read, told myself it had been nothing at all. It was only 8 p.m. I didn't want to go to bed. Though the snow outside was like a quilt, I decided to arrange the nativity. Donkey, sheep, camels, wise men, shepherds, star, Joseph. The crib was there, but it was empty. There was no Christ child. And there was no Mary. Had I dropped them in the dark room? I hadn't heard anything fall, and these wooden figures were 6 inches tall. Joseph was wearing a woolen tunic, but his wooden legs had painted puttees? Puties? I'm assuming it's a type of pant. I pulled off the tunic. Underneath, wooden Joseph wore a painted uniform.
For a story that involves cell phones, the language and word choice.
Right?
Well, again, this is supposed to be reminiscent of the old Christmas
Yeah.
ghost stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is written by an English person, obviously.
Oh, that's the problem.
Yeah. Underneath, wooden Joseph wore a painted uniform. First World War. When I turned him round, it's an English person.
Okay.
I saw there was a gash in his back, like a stab wound.
Oh, no.
My phone beeped.
Got him.
I dropped Joseph, grabbed the phone. It was a text message from Susie. This is in all caps. Trying to call you. Leave tomorrow. I'm just assuming that's how it's read because it's in all caps. It's very aggressive. I pressed call. Nothing. I tried to send a text. Nothing. But what did it matter? Suddenly, I felt relief and calm. They had been delayed, that was all. Tomorrow, they would be here. I sat down again with the nativity. Perhaps the missing figures were inside. I put in my hand.
I thought they were in his pants pockets.
No, those were just some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, like there was
That's
still
why
no Jesus or Mary.
They took the pants pockets out and realized that they didn't have all of the figurines, so
Except the three
looking
wise men
for
in
them
the
now.
pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
oh dear.
I put it in my hand. My fingers closed around a metal object. It was a small iron key with a hoop top. Maybe it was the key to the attic door.
Oh, no.
Outside,
Don't do it.
snow had fallen.
Have you seen any horror movies? Don't do it.
Yeah, right? Outside, snow had fallen, snow on snow. The sky had cleared, the moon sped above the sea. I had gone to bed, and I was deep asleep when I heard... So
when
sorry,
I heard Rachel
pardon me.
burping into the microphone repeatedly.
Pardon me. When I heard it clearly, above me, Footsteps, pacing, down the room.
Footsteps?
Hesitate, turn,
Footsteps?
return. Ooh. I lay in bed, eyes staring blindly at the blind ceiling. Why do we open our eyes when we can't see anything? And what was there to see? I don't believe in ghosts.
Curmudgeon.
I was going to say, Nicholas. I wanted to put on the light, but what if the light didn't come on? Why would it be worse to be in darkness? I had not chosen the darkness I was choosing. But it would be worse. I sat up in bed and pulled back the curtain a little. The moon had been so bright tonight. Surely there would be light? There was light. Outside the house, hand in hand, stood the still and silent figures of a mother and child.
Oh no.
I did not sleep again till daylight, and when I slept and woke again, it was almost midday, and already the light was lowering. Hurrying to get coffee, I saw the dress was gone. I had left it dripping over the sink, and it was gone. Get out of the house. I set off for the station. There was an air frost that had coated the trees glittering white. It was beautiful and deathly. The world held in ice.
Desolate. Pretty.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Sure.
On the road there were no car tracks. No noise but the roar and drop of the sea.
Isolation.
The only sound of your own footsteps is you hear it crunch to the ice.
Footsteps, footsteps.
That's a satisfying sound, though, just like walking on ice. Okay.
Sure. Yes. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm so good at this.
I moved slowly and saw no one. In the white, unmoving landscape, I wondered if there was anyone else left alive. At the station, I waited. I waited some time past
by the
the time.
nativity Jesus.
What?
So they'd all been eaten by the nativity Jesus.
What
Am I
if
the
that's
only
just
one alive?
the end of the story? No. At the station, I waited. I waited some time past the time until the train whistled on the track. The train
Sometime
stopped.
past the time.
The guard got down and saw me. He shook his head. There's no one, he said. No one at all. I thought I would cry.
There's no one. No one at all.
You're welcome to come with me.
Right? I took out my mute phone. I flashed up the message. Trying to call you. Leave tomorrow. The guard looked at it. Happen it's you who should be leaving, he said. There's no more trains past Carlisle now till the 27th. Tomorrow was the last day, and that's been cancelled. Weather. I wrote down a number and gave it to the guard. Will you phone my friends and tell them I'm on my way home? On the slow journey back to High Fallen House, I filled my mind with my departure. It would be slow and dangerous to travel at night, but I could not consider another night alone. Or not alone. All I had to do was manage 40 miles to Inchbarn. There was a pub and a guest house and remote but normal life. The text message kept playing in my head. Had it really meant that I should leave? And why? Because Susie and Stephen couldn't come? Weather? Illness? It's all a guessing game. The fact is, I have to go. And there's another loud plane.
Sorry.
I thought it was a train.
No.
At first.
No.
Like when at first I thought it was a train horn off in the distance.
The house seemed subdued when I returned. I had left the lights on, and I went straight upstairs to pack my bag. At once, I saw that the light to the attic was on. I paused. Breathed. Of course it's on. I never switched it off. That proves it's a wiring fault. I must tell the housekeeper. My bag packed.
You are the housekeeper.
My bag packed. I threw the food into a box and put everything back in the car. I had the whiskey in the front, a blanket I stole from the bed, and I made a hot water bottle just in case. It was only 5 o'clock. At worst, I'd be in Inchbarn by 9 p.m. I got in the car and turned the key. The radio came on for a second, died as the ignition clicked and clicked.
Oh no.
I knew that the battery was flat. 2 hours ago at the station, the car had started first time, even if I had left the lights on. But I hadn't left the lights on. A cold panic hit me. I took a swig of the whiskey. I couldn't sleep in the car all night. I would die. I don't want to die.
Not in your car. When you're
Yeah,
outside of
right?
a house, that would be silly.
Back in the house, I wondered what I was going to do all night. I must not fall asleep. I had noticed some old books and volumes when I had explored downstairs yesterday. Assorted dusty adventure stories and tales of empire. As I sorted through them, I came across a faded velvet photograph album. In the cold, deserted sitting room, I began to discover the past. High Fallen House, 1910. The women in long skirts with miraculous waists, the men in shooting tweeds, the stable boys in waistcoats, the gardening boys wearing flat caps, the maids in starched aprons, and here they are again in their Sunday best. A wedding photograph. Joseph and Mary Locke, 1912. He was a gardener. She was a maid. In the back of the album, loose and unsorted, were further photographs and newspaper cuttings, 1914. The men in uniform. There was Joseph. I took the album back to the kitchen and put it next to my wooden soldier. I had on my coat and scarf. I propped myself up in 2 chairs by the wood fire range and dozed and waited and waited and dozed. It was perhaps 2 o'clock when I heard a child crying. Not a child who has scraped his knee or lost a toy, but an abandoned child. A child whose own voice is his last hold on life. A child who cries and knows that no one will come. The sound was not above me. It was above me. I knew where it was coming from. Ooh, girl. I put my hands over my ears and my head between my knees. I could not shut out the sound. A locked-up child, a hungry child, a child who was cold and wet and frightened. Twice I got up and went to the door. Twice I sat down again. The crying stopped. Silence. A dreadful silence. Not science, I'm sorry.
Science.
Science rules. I raised my head. Footsteps were coming down the stairs. Not one foot in front of the other, but one foot dragging slightly, then the other joining it. Steadying, stopping again. At the bottom of the stairs, the footsteps paused. They did what I knew they would do, with all the terror in my body. The footsteps came toward the kitchen door. Whatever was out there was standing 12 feet away on the other side of the door. I stood behind the table and picked up a knife. The door swung open with violent force and rammed the brass doorknob into the plaster of the wall. Wind and snow blew into the kitchen, whirling up the photographs and cuttings on the table. I saw that the front door itself was wide open, the entrance hall like a wind tunnel. Holding the knife, I went forward into the hall to shut the door. The pendant metal lantern that hung from the ceiling was swinging wildly on its long chain. A sudden gust lurched it forward like a child's swing pushed too high. It fell back at force against the large semicircular fanlight over the front door. The fanlight shattered and fell round my shoulders in shards of sharp rain. Flicker, buzz, darkness. The house lights were out. No wind now, no cries, silence again. Glass hit the snow-lit hall. I walked out of the front door and into the night. At the drive, I turned left and saw them, the mother and child. The child was wearing the woolen dress. She had no shoes. She held up her arms piteously to her mother, who stood like stone. I ran forward. I grabbed the child in my arms. There was no child. I had fallen face down in the snow. Help me. That's not my voice. Spooky. Okay. I'm on my feet again. The mother is ahead of me. I follow her. She's going towards the walled garden. She seems to pass through the door, leaving me on the other side. Do not enter. I tried the rusty hoop handle. It broke off, taking a piece of door with it. I kicked the door open. It fell off its hinges. The ruined and abandoned garden lay before me. A walled garden of 1 acre used to feed 20 people, but that was a long time ago. There were footprints in the snow. I followed them. They led me to the bothy? Yeah. Its roof patched with corrugated iron. There was no door, but the inside seemed dry and sound. There was a tear-off calendar still on the wall. 22nd December, 1916. I put my hand in my pocket and I realized that the key from the nativity was there. At the same time, I heard a chair scrape on the floor in the room beyond. I had no fear anymore. As the body first shivers and then numbs with cold, my feelings were frozen. I was moving through shadows as one who dreams. In the room beyond, there was a low fire lit in the tiny tin fireplace. On either side of the fire sat the mother and child. The child was absorbed playing with a marble. Her bare feet were blue, but she did not seem to feel the cold any more than I did. Are we dead, then? The woman with the shawl over her head looked at me with deep expressionless eyes. I recognized her. It was Mary Locke. She nodded at me. Or at not me. At some other me in some other time. I do not know. Her gaze went to a tall cupboard. I knew that my key fitted this cupboard, and that I must open it. I did so. A dusty uniform fell out, crumpling like a puppet. The uniform was not quite empty of its occupant. The back of the faded wool jacket had a long slash where the lungs would have been. I looked at the knife in my hand. Open the door. Are you in there? Open the door. I woke to blinding white. Where am I? Something's rocking. It's a car. I am in my car. A heavy glove was brushing off the snow. I sat up, found my keys, pressed the unlock button. It was morning. Outside was a guard from the train and a woman who announced herself as Mrs. Wormwood. "Fine mess you've made here," she said. We went into the kitchen. I was shivering so much that Mrs. Wormwood relented and began to make coffee. "Alfie fetched me," she said, "after he spoke to your friends." "There's a body," I said, "in the walled garden." "Is that where it is?" said Mrs. Wormwood. Pardon. At Christmas 1914, Joseph Locke had gone to war. Before he left for Flanders, he had made a nativity scene for his little girl. When he came back in 1916, he had been gassed. They heard him, climbing the stairs, gasping for breath through froth-corrupted lungs. His mind had gone, they said. At night in the attic where he slept with his wife and child, he leaned vacantly against the wall, rolling the child's marbles up and down, down and up, pacing, pacing, pacing. One night, just before Christmas, he strangled his wife and daughter. He left them for dead in the bed and went out. But his wife was not dead. She followed him. In the morning, they found her sitting by the nativity, her dress dark with blood, his finger marks livid at her throat. She was singing a lullaby and pushing the point of the knife into the back of the wooden figure. Joseph was never found. "Are you going to call the police?" I said. "What for?" said Mrs. Wormwood. "Let the dead bury the dead." Alfie the guard went out to see my car. It started first time. The exhaust blew in the white air. I left them clearing up, and I was about to set off when I remembered I had left my radio in the kitchen. I went back inside. The kitchen was empty. I could hear the two of them up in the attic. I picked up the radio. The nativity was on the table as I had left it, but it wasn't as I had left it.
No.
Joseph was there, and the animals and the shepherds and the worn-out star. And in the center was the crib. Next to the crib were the wooden figures of a mother and a child. The Guardian's U.S. editor, John Mulholland, urges you to... This is an ad.
I love you. I was like, girl, I don't think you
that
read
right
that.
there.
That's the end.
I was like, what's happening?
Donate to The Guardian.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping us out with our podcast.
That was nice and creepy.
That was super
It was
creepy.
really long.
I've told you that was a long one.
Yeah.
I really like that one, though. That's very much in keeping with the writing style was trying to sound, a little bit older, and it's interesting, a story that bridges the decades, but
Yeah.
I really liked that one.
I did too.
Thank you for doing the reading. That was a lot.
Of course. My throat's a little dry, but that's okay.
Oh, that's pretty
It was
good.
very well written, though.
Yeah.
I liked that. I think we should bring back the tradition of Christmas ghost stories. What do you guys think?
I'm mad at their friends. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna meet you. Oh, we're late. Oh, we're gonna tomorrow.
We're
And then
just
it's
not gonna come.
Yeah, it's just
Peace out, man. You're on
Right?
your own.
Big creepy house. I don't know if that would be like dream or nightmare. I'd be like, I get this whole place to myself. Probably same thing. Then it gets dark, and I'm like, I don't want this whole place to
Yeah.
myself.
Two nights of hauntings, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go walk into the
I'm gonna
ocean
just
now.
go sit in my car
Peace
and
out, man.
freeze.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice and spooky.
Spooky.
And again, you guys can find a lot of these online, a lot of these ghost stories, or hey, make up your own. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Write your own ghost story.
fiction. Yes, do it.
Fiction, yes.
Or nonfiction
Or
if you have
nonfiction,
spooky
do it, yeah.
experiences.
Send them to campfirecurmudgeon at
At
gmail.com. You can find us on social media. You found us. Don't forget to check out the other great podcasts on the Pop Go Podcast Network. Rachel, thanks for joining us. What do you
Yes.
want to plug?
Thank
plug
you
it.
for having me. Having me. I said having.
It.
I don't know. Oh, I have a cosplay account on Instagram. It is
Ooh.
_ultracosplay_. You can follow me on there if you like cosplay and anime.
Follow her for all the nerdy stuffs.
Heck yeah.
Some of the nerdy stuffs.
And keep the
campfire
campfire burning. Bye.
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 Hey, campers, thanks for listening. Got any scary stories? Send them to campfirecurmudgeon@gmail.com or message us on Facebook. You can even send a text or leave a voicemail at 480-442-0124. Don't forget to visit us on Instagram and tweet us at CFCurmudge.